OMG, hi! Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Today I thought we'd talk about brushes, very specifically Clip Studio brushes. I do most of my illustration work on my iPad, and that switches between Clip Studio and Procreate. I'll make a video another day about my Procreate brushes that I enjoy, but I wanted to share some love for Clip Studio because I think it's great for illustrators. These brushes also work on the desktop version of Clip Studio, so it's not just for the iPad or anything. And a lot of them are free, and that's my favorite price of brush, free. So, without further ado, let's get into it. I'm gonna make a new canvas. I'm gonna make it pretty small, because first I want to talk about my favorite pixel art brushes. So, here we are. And I'm going to have links for everything in the description and like timestamps if you want to see a specific type of brush. I'm saving my favorite thing for last because it's life-changing and it still amazes me every time. But for pixel art, and also when you import brushes into Clip Studio, you can like put them wherever. So this is not indicative of like how it has to be installed or anything. My first recommendation is this like megapack of pixel brushes. And I'm going to throw down a couple right here. So it's a lot of different types of just pixel brushes. And there's also some flat ones here too. And if you're looking to do pixel art, or if you want to like replicate any sort of like Flipnote studio look, these are the brushes to go for. And there's like even more that I'm not showing here. There's some like fun ones, like, ooh, that's cool. Hearts. And I'm also going to show you both here favorite brushes and in pieces that I've done before. So if we look here, there's a little Daft Punk piece I made when they broke up, unfortunately. And as you can see, I used a lot of those pixely brushes here. And then I also really like this one brush called GGK brush for pixel art because it is very pixely around the edges. Like it doesn't taper off. Here, I'll show you. Like it has no variation in its opacity, but it also has some nice line variation, so you can get some really fun marks with it. And I really like that for pixel art. So in terms of sketching brushes, my favorite ones are these ones I don't know how to say. And it has X4 and X2 and X5. And basically, they're just really nice, organic looking pencils. And when you press lightly with them, they kind of go bigger as if you're like, I don't know, writing with it on its side. And then when you press down, they get darker and a bit closer. And the amount of spray from it being on its side kind of varies from brush to brush. So here, it's like really wide and then narrows down and becomes darker. And honestly, I don't use this for just sketching. I like it for line art too. Like I will show you with this one. I used it for the line art, and so it really just has a very nice organic look. And I don't know, I just really like it for line art. I think it looks great. And it's also just a really fun brush to use because of the line variation. Moving on to line art, I actually have a lot of recommendations because I mainly use Clip Studio for anything that has line art in it. So I'm just gonna go like rapid fire through it. There's this set, again, don't know how to say it, but one of them's green and one of them's blue on the side. And these ones are nice. I'll make this a little bigger so you can kind of see. It just kind of feels like using like a real pen on a piece of paper. There's some like fun feathering out that it does around the edges. Let's see it in action. Used it here, I believe. Yeah, I used it here. So, I don't know, I like sketchy lines and things that kind of look more organic, so that's the brushes those are the types of brushes that I lean toward. Also this one, which I really like, it's similar to the previous one, but I don't know, it has a different feel to it, less like feathering out. maybe. I don't know. They kind of look similar, but they feel different. I promise. They feel different. And this one I used for inking this test comic, and I'll probably use for when I actually make the comic. Yeah, I don't know. I really like the line quality on it, and I think you can get a really nice look with it. And then, let's see. Okay, so the rest of them for the inking brushes are paid. I know, boo, we hate paying for brushes, but listen, they're really good, and they're made by a good artist. Taco de Muerte, Jay. There's two kind of sets that I have here. From Handle with Care to Sister Ink, those are one set, and then Marky 2 to This Ink Empty are another set. Yeah, there's just some really fun stuff here. This one's Dusty Girl, and then Sister Ink is kind of similar. It does this like fun, like, I don't know, it looks cool, okay? It just looks cool. Look at it here. It looks cool. So you can kind of see, like, when it's smaller, you don't super notice the texture, but then when you have like these bigger marks, you can really see it, and it's fun, okay? It's fun. And then a combo that I've been enjoying recently is sketching with this one, the old doll. So like, smiley face, and this one kind of looks like a marker running out of ink, and it's fun. And then going on top of it with bum marker. Bad inking example. Can't follow the lines, but this one has a fun like splitting thing, as if it was like a nib that's opening on its side. This Ink Empty also does some fun stuff. This one's a little weird where you draw a line, you don't know exactly how the like feathering around it is going to turn out, but it's kind of fun in that way. You can kind of see here, that's the combo I did. So I did like 2 layers with the old doll for sketching, and then I went on top of it with this brush. And yeah, I think that's it for inking. Moving on to erasers, I kind of only have one big pro tip, which I didn't know about Clip Studio until I like saw somebody else say it, but if you have any brush selected, down here in the bottom left where it has your foreground and background color, this one down here, it'll make any brush an eraser. So you can just like take it and use it, and you don't have to really download a separate a separate eraser, which is really convenient. But if you want to download an eraser, my favorite one is this one called Unhelpful Eraser. It's really not for erasing. Like, I'll show you. So when you use it, it's like a crappy old school eraser, like on the end of a pencil. So it smudges and kind of lifts up the color, but mainly smudges. And so you can kind of see eventually it will sort of erase, but you can use it to create some really interesting shading. So on this one, I used this first inker I was talking about to ink it. And then I went in and I used the Unhelpful Eraser to move it around a bit and kind of smudge it. And yeah, I don't know. I don't work this way often, but I really like the way it looks. I think it's really interesting. So my next little category is shading and coloring, and I have a couple recommendations for that. The first one is mainly this big set. It's like retro halftones, and again, links in the description for all these things, but these ones have some really fun, subtle textures to them. To me, it almost feels like canvas, like the way that like if you were to do a really light wash on top of a primed canvas, like there's something very immediate about them. And so these are fun for doing like a base layer or shading on their own too. So here you can kind of see I use them for the staple gun and the background on this comic. And then for this one, I used it as the base layer for the skin. And it's like subtle, but it just gives a nice vibration to everything that I really enjoy. And then in a similar vein, my next recommendation is the True Grit Texture Supply free sampler. So there's a lot of good brushes in here. Like there are even some like pencil brushes and pens and stuff. This one's fun. It has like a fun squeegee texture, but my main recs in here are these halftone brushes, which are nice because even though Clip Studio does have its own halftone features, they're kind of you can tell they're digital in a way. They're very like the same, and there's no variations, whereas these ones kind of have some subtle mistakes in them, and it kind of gives it like a more organic feel when you use them. And then also, the main reason why I'm into them right now is because they have these really awesome like shading and grainy like texture things. So these brushes are really big, so I end up making selections and then coloring in with the brushes in order to kind of keep them under wraps, but just has this like beautiful texture to it that I really love, and there's a bunch of them in here. You can just like really go to town and get gritty, and I love texture in my work, and a lot of other people seem to like the texture in my work, and a lot of it is from these brushes. And so I'll show you with this recent one that I did. It was a lot of selecting and then going in between Grain Builder 2 and Dead Settle 14 Worn 1 because those two are kind of like the finest grain, and so it's not super harsh and it doesn't take away from the line art, but it gives it a beautiful texture. Like, I'm in love and I can't wait to use them more. Lastly, for the shaders, I want to recommend this brush set, SG Halftones. I believe I downloaded it on DeviantArt like 2 years ago or something, and they're for Photoshop, but Clip Studio can use Photoshop brushes, same with Procreate, so bit of spoiler for my Procreate brush video, but there's just some really nice halftones here. I'll give you a little sampler. And I like these ones because they have different sizes of each one, so there's fine, light, heavy, and dark, but then in those there's large, medium, and small, so you can really kind of use them for whatever size canvas you have going on, which I really appreciate. I also use these for this comic. I used mainly the light ones. Yeah, the light and the heavy for these, so you can kind of see in combination with the retro ones that I showed earlier, it gives some fun variation to the halftones that you're using. Okay, and then the moment of truth, my favorite one, the coolest thing ever. I'm gonna draw something really quickly because this tool is for filling stuff in. So let's say you're drawing like a donut. You're like, ooh, wow, cool. Oh, but I don't feel like coloring it in. That's so much work. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna use this tool. This guy, this little cupcake. Basically what this does is we're gonna set this layer to a reference layer, which is this little lighthouse up here. And then we're gonna use this and we're gonna go in the settings and make sure that under Refer Multiple, it's the lighthouse that we're selecting. Go on a layer below it, pick our color. Then whoa, it colors it in automatically. And you might be thinking, but it's a donut. It has a hole in it. How are we gonna do that? It has an eraser form too. Look at that. It's so crazy. It's so cool. Like, every time I use this function, I'm just like, wow, this is actually the best tool I've ever seen. And it can even like kind of register gaps. So I'll leave a gap here and we'll see how it does. So like, boink, colored it in. Boink, colored it in. Look at that. It's amazing. You don't have to color flat colors by hand anymore. It's done. I will say that if we want to color in, one little tip to keep in mind is that if we want to color in the frosting on the donut, and we go to do it on the same layer as the color we just did, it will kind of not work because there's already like a color underneath it. But easy way to get through that is to just make a new layer on top of that, fill it in, erase again, boom, there we go. So those are my favorite Clip Studio brushes. Go forth and download and have fun with all of those. I recommend all of them. And also, if you have any recommendations, leave them in the comments. I love testing out new brushes, especially because the Clip Studio Assets store is so accessible. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like and comment and subscribe, do all those fun YouTube things, and check out for the Procreate version of this video in the future. See you guys later. Bye.